Most people just shoot from the hip, they avoid the data, but sometimes in order to go fast, you have to go slow. And this is the core of lean.
Welcome to The Operating System. I'm Andy Milkowski. This show is for people running complex operations who don't necessarily have time for theory. It's for people who really want to know what's working for those operating at the highest levels. So if you're running an imaging center or a radiology department or optimizing a complex system, this show seeks to uncover what separates good from the truly exceptional. Today, I have Dr. Stephen Holtzman with me. He's an interventional radiologist who serves as CEO of Radiology Associates of San Luis Obispo, or RASLO. During that time, he led a lean transformation that grew the practice from 15 to 25 million. But what's interesting is that a good portion of that came from growing his market share from 50 to 95%. We'll touch upon that. And at one point, the site even had CommonSpirit Health's 180 hospitals. His group ranked number 1, 2, and 3 in ER report turnaround time. During this, he's also built 2 healthcare companies, Holtzman, a patient education video platform, which is now used at UC Davis, MD Anderson, Emory, and Georgetown, and now TurboRad, which is coming out of about 15 years of refining how radiologists create reports. He's also former president of California Radiological Society and holds a master's in healthcare quality improvement from Dartmouth. Stephen, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Andy. It's a real pleasure.
So let's start in the beginning. Your path and the lean process improvement concepts are a little unique. Perhaps you could tell me a little bit of the backstory on that?
Sure. So when I was in training in medical school, I was at Dartmouth and my chairman wanted somebody to do this master's in healthcare quality improvement. So I had a year between medical school and starting my radiology residency, and he supported me doing that. Well, I absolutely loved it. It was a tremendous experience. They had some real forward thinkers. They were doing incredible research on a small area of variation. But once I was in the program, what I was really drawn to was just continuous quality improvement. I really loved the concept of taking the scientific method and applying it to business. And that's what I thought was really powerful. Analyzing a process from start to finish to see where the hiccups were. And it just resonated with me. I was like, yeah, I can really get behind this. So that's why I started studying continuous quality improvement.
Fantastic. And you may not know, but we have a common background in continuous improvement. Didn't go to Dartmouth, but also a similar kind of background. How did you then go from Dartmouth to end up at a private institution like RASLO?
So, yeah, I was clearly on an academic path. I was really excited about it. But when I was in my 3rd year of radiology residency, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I developed tongue cancer, and I wasn't sure exactly what my future held. I had a 5 and a 10-year academic kind of path that I was thinking about, and it went from a 5 to 10-year path to a 1 to 2 month path. I wanted to think about what am I going to do for the next month or two, because I didn't know. I had a successful surgery. It looked like everything was going to be okay, but I didn't know what the future held. So my priorities changed in the middle of my training, and I went from an academic career to think, what I really need to do is get to an area of the country that I really like, that I can explore all of my hobbies and spend more time with my family. Central Coast of California was an ideal fit for me. It was a small college town, and I could bike, surf, and golf to my heart's content. So as I started doing that, I was really happy with the free time. And as the years ticked by, I realized, boy, this cancer is not coming back, thank goodness. So, well, what else can I do? And I started thinking, like, how can I get back to my community? I've got all this incredible training. What should I do? The first thing that I decided to do was to start an interventional radiology program. We're in a small town. We didn't have a big interventional radiology presence, but I convinced my group to hire some more people, and we built a really terrific system. So we hired a few extra interventional radiologists, and we started to do all these new and interesting complex procedures. We brought university level interventional radiology to our small town. And that was really well received. I know for sure we saved a lot of lives by doing this. The surgeons were very happy. We were able to keep patients locally, and they didn't have to travel all the way to the big cities to have some of these procedures. So that was really nice. But as we were doing our interventional radiology and I started thinking about the processes, I realized there was an amount of time that I needed to spend educating the patients that was just taking too long and it was very redundant. So I thought to myself, what if I put some of these explanations in video form? And how much time would that save? And as it turned out, it saved a lot of time. And not only did it save a lot of time, but the patients loved them. They loved having an opportunity to see the video before seeing me. And then when I saw them, I didn't have to go through the basic education. They already had it. And not only did they have it, but people remember video content a lot better than when you're talking to them. Studies have shown that people remember maybe 5-10% of what you tell them. But if you show them a video, it's like more like 50-60% retention. So it's much better retention. So when I would come in to see a patient, a family, I'd ask, did you watch the video that we created? And, yeah, okay. Do you have any questions now? Okay, great. Why don't you tell me about you? So it was a really nice change from educating the patient on basics of these complex procedures that we do to actually interacting with them as human beings and just getting a chance to know them better. We bonded a lot better. I got to know them better. They felt more comfortable with me because I knew them as a person. I didn't know them as just a disease process. So I thought it was really terrific. So I spun that into a company, and now we have our videos all the way across the country. They're in every single University of California hospital. We have MD Anderson as a client, UT Southwestern, Emory, Georgetown, taking these ideas on process improvement and actually operationalizing them and turning them into separate companies. That was my first venture into entrepreneurship, and it was successful.
Awesome. And I think you continued building that because during that time, there's discussion of you initiating big process improvement activities within Radiology Associates, where you're training all employees. What initiated going just from, let's say, creating videos to training large swaths of people to improve processes?
So that's a fun story to tell. So my group asked me to take over the leadership role, and I didn't feel like I was ready, but my partners assured me that I was ready. I was terrified when I started. I was like, how am I going to take this company and what am I going to do? How can I run it? How can I make sure that I don't mess up? How can I make sure that I actually make it better? I had this continuous improvement background and I knew it was going to have something to do with that. But there were a couple of key meetings that I had. One was with a woman named Wendy Colley. She was a former senior vice president at Starbucks, and I met her at a Christmas party. She's a sister-in-law of a good friend of mine. And when I was talking to her, I could just tell she was really impressive. I didn't know anything about her background at the time. And when I found out she was a former VP of Starbucks, I asked her, what was it that made Starbucks so incredible? And she said, have you ever read this book called Lean Thinking? And I said, no, I hadn't heard of it before, but I'll read it. So I got it right away and I started reading it. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, this is everything I was learning at the healthcare quality improvement course. This is exactly the same ideas, the same concepts. So right around that same time, I got invited to go to a Laker game and sit in the Toyota box. It was a charity event. So I'm sitting in line to get some food, and I strike up a conversation with this woman named Tracy Doy. And I'm like, so Tracy, what do you do? Are you in charity or whatever? She goes, no, I'm the senior vice president of Toyota. I was like, oh, really? That's really interesting. I'm reading this book on lean thinking. Do you know, is that something that you're really familiar with? I know it has its origins in Toyota. And she smiled. She goes, yeah, we call it the Toyota way. We don't really call it lean, but we just call it the Toyota way. And so I sat down the whole time. I didn't watch 1 minute of the game. I just sat and talked to her. I was so riveted. And by those two conversations, I knew for sure that's what we were going to do. We're going to go through a lean transformation in Radiology Associates. So when I came back, we researched and hired a great company called Simpler. They're now part of IBM, but it was a consulting agency that came in and we trained every single person in our organization. We had about 120 employees and we trained all of them. We went through a complete lean transformation. We changed the way we did our huddles every day. We had everything on the board so that everybody could see our processes, which rapid improvement events we were doing. We did all these incredible improvement events. The very first improvement event was we did an analysis of people coming in just for x-rays. And we realized that there was a bottleneck, because once you start following somebody through the process step by step, you start to see things that you didn't see before. What we noticed was our technologist standing in the doorway waiting for a person to fill out a little form that we had them fill out with some clinical information. And we realized, wow, especially if they're older, it takes them a long time to fill out these forms. Patients really don't like to fill out forms anyway. But the tech was wasting their time. It's a classic lean waste. They're just sitting there watching them fill out the forms. Why don't we just eliminate the form altogether and have the tech ask them the few pertinent questions? We got it down to just a few pertinent questions like, why are you here? Do you have a history of surgery? Do you have a history of cancer? And was there an injury? And if so, where exactly does it hurt? The answers to those questions help us out tremendously. And that's all we really needed to know. So from a lean perspective, we're really boiling it down to just what we needed to know. So within that, we revised our processes, and that was our first rapid improvement event. And what we noticed was by the tech not standing there, we opened up capacity we calculated to be 30%. There was that much of a backlog on this. So the moment that I really knew that we were onto something was I always kept my door cracked just a little bit. And I heard a tech and a patient having a conversation walking down the hall. And they said, what did you do around here? I was just in here last week for my x-ray, and I was in and out of here so fast, it was like, boom. And the patient said that. That's exactly what they said. And I got chills. I was like, oh, we are onto something. We're going to do some really incredible work. So fast forward hundreds of improvement projects later, we started to develop an internal training program. So we had a training program where we were delivering green belts and black belts. We had a professor from Cal Poly who was running our training program, and it started to spread. So people in the community started to hear about what we were doing, and they were asking to come in and join our improvement events. So there was a tremendous response. So lots of people from different medical practices and the hospitals were coming to take our improvement events, so much so that they actually started to pay to come to our events. So we had people paying to come to our events to help us do improvement projects to help run our business better. I still think that's one of the great achievements that we made during this process. But what was great is as we were improving our processes, what we found was we were actually having a tremendous impact, not only on speed, on flow for the patients going through, but we attacked quality. We wanted to make sure that we weren't just going fast, but we were doing things better. And quality judged mostly from the patient's perspective. Were they happy? Were we doing things that were better? So for instance, we took a really close look at all of our MRI protocols and found out what are the sequences that we really need? Because we found out after lots of discussions with patients that they hated being in the magnet. Any minute that we can take them out of the magnet, they were happy about. So we started to really streamline our protocols, and we were increasing our capacity on our MRI machines by a tremendous amount and making patients happier at the same time.
Wow. So this may be just a personal question. When you train so many people on improvement and all of them get excited about the opportunity and it could create chaos, how did you manage the chaos from getting everybody enthused about a quality improvement process?
I have to say that the relationship that we had with the simpler folks was really tremendous. They came in and they've been doing this for so long. They really understand how to implement change. But you're right, that's a big issue. Whenever you try to do a major change in an organization, change management is everything. But probably most importantly, you have to have buy-in from the leaders. Whether you're in the mid-level leaders, you can do it, but it's a little harder. But if you have the top-level leadership committed to this and out there and talking about it and how important it is, celebrating people's wins, getting excited when they get a green belt or a black belt in your program, celebrating it, making it a big deal, showing off to everyone, you get a lot of momentum behind it. But it really comes down to organization and leadership.
Wow. I'm wondering if there's any wise words for anyone else running, let's say, an imaging center, saying, this is what you need to look for or watch out for. This is how you start this process. Because it seems without, in your words, without somebody well experienced in it, it could be difficult.
Yes, I would say start with a small project and have a big visible win. So for us, the big visible win was just changing a process for X-ray, eliminating a step in the process. We had it all flow charted. We're like, we're going to get rid of this bubble. We're not going to do it. Let's analyze it and see what happens. And it opened up 30% capacity, that one little change. Isn't that funny? It's just something that we just all assumed that was necessary. That's just the way we've always done it. But what you really need is you need some fresh eyes, and you need to be thinking about it from an operational perspective, from a lean perspective, an industrial engineering perspective. What are the things that we're doing that do not matter to the patient? Of course, we have to do compliance things. We have to do things for billing. I'm not talking about any of those. You absolutely have to do all of that. But from the patient's perspective, is there any single thing that they're doing or that we're doing for them that they don't care about? If so, that's waste. You have to learn how to see it, and that's what companies like Simpler could help you do. You have to be able to see the waste, and then you eliminate it, and that's lean.
Very cool. So let's back to some other accomplishments that you've had under your belt, in particular, being able to grow revenue as in RASLO from 15 to 25 million, gaining incredible market share in that same time. So I may add that growth was not primarily due to patient growth, but primarily due to market share growth, which is a difference for those in the space. What do you attribute that to?
So when we started our lean journey, one of the things that we were doing is just really focusing in on our reports. And the end product of everything that we do in radiology is a high quality report. And a high quality report is best judged by the clinician and the patients that receive it. Does it answer the clinical question? Is it concise, easy to read? Because our clinicians are busy. They're so busy. They don't have time to read a narrative type report. They need something that's clean and actionable. So that's what we really focused in on. We started really focusing in on our reports. We debated the language that we were using. We would receive feedback from our billing people, and we would make sure that we incorporated that into our reporting system. We would get feedback from tumor boards, and we would incorporate that into our reporting system. We'd get feedback from trauma committees and make sure all of our reports were nice and consistent. Our reports were coming out very quickly and at a high quality. So we started to siphon off market share from people. We had a CEO at a hospital that felt that they wanted to compete with us. So they went out and got better equipment than we did. They invested a lot of money at the time. They got MRI scanners that were way better, 3 Tesla before we had them. And they thought that was going to draw the market share back, but they kept losing market share. So I said, okay, maybe it's because we need subspecialty radiologists. So they hired really good subspecialty radiologists to create very good reports. But they were still inconsistent because none of the reports were consistent among them. So they get a good report from one person, comprehensive, and then maybe from a general radiologist going to an orthopedic surgeon, it didn't quite sound as good. So they kept sending us business. So after a while, the hospital CEO said, I'm tired of trying to compete against you. I give up. Will you come take over our group? And we said, we're not a predatory group. We're not going to do that. These are our colleagues. And the next year, after losing further market share, the CEO came back and said, listen, we're going to fire them. They're going to be fired. And the contract is yours if you want it. If not, we're going to go get somebody else. So we actually weren't quite prepared to take that over. We didn't have enough people, but we thought, well, maybe we can handle it. We can probably pull it off. So they said, okay, come on and take over this book of business for us. And you need to have 6 people reading per day. And we said, no, we can do it with 3. Our report generating system is so fast, we can do it with 3 people. And they said, no, there's no way we have to have 6 people. I'm telling you, we're a lot busier than you think. It's like, no, we know exactly how busy you are. You've given us the numbers. We know we can do it with 3 people. So we ended up settling on a compromise of 4. And not only did we take over and handle it with 4 people, but out of their system, it started out as Dignity Health. Now it's CommonSpirit Health. If you look at the ER report turnaround times from the time the report is ready to be read to the time that it's read, out of 180 hospitals, we were number 1, 2, and 3 in report turnaround time. We had the fastest report turnaround time in their entire system. So we could have done it with 3. We may not have been 1, 2, and 3. It's pretty impressive. All of that work and all of that market share gain was built just on the concept of lean and continuous quality improvement, continuous daily improvement. If you can commit to that, these little changes that you make over and over again and keep making it better, you make a process better and then come back and revisit it after a while and make it better again, and just keep making your processes better. It's tremendous what kind of momentum you develop over time. And you start right away, even though it's little incremental developments. It's fun to look back at our early charts in 2014. We were looking at the total number of reports we were doing per hour. If you look from 2014 to 2015, it's just a nice, steady growth curve. It's a little bit up and down, but it's a nice, steady growth curve. We kept waiting for it to plateau, and it hasn't. Now that we have AI working into our system, we're developing some proprietary AI solutions in our reporting software. It's still going faster. And I think it still has room to go even faster yet. So we haven't hit a plateau. We're still committed to this continuous improvement. And I'm excited about next year. Every year that passes, it just gets easier and easier for us.
Fantastic. So we haven't talked much about it, but this whole uniform reporting system is actually a custom development here.
Yeah. 2 years ago, we were notified by our PACS vendor. We had Merge Unity, which we're happy with because even though it's antiquated technology, we built this reporting system into it. It was based on Microsoft Word. So we loved it. It doubled our productivity. It doubled our incomes, and it helped us dominate our market. When we were told it was going away, we were in a panic because we didn't have a good way to recreate it. So I went to my group and I said, look, I've always thought what we've built should be offered out to the rest of the radiology world. I think they could benefit from it. So why don't you let me buy the intellectual property from you and start a new company? I'm still going to work for Radiology Associates, but I'm going to try to bring this to a broader audience. So that was the origin of TurboRad. TurboRad's been around for a couple of years now, and we recreated the product. We've established an MVP. We're dedicated to continuous quality improvement. We have a super low friction way to give feedback. And after the first year, we've implemented 1,400 improvement suggestions from my radiologists, and we're starting to fly again. The average work RVU per hour is about 10 work RVUs per hour. That's going pretty fast when you dictate the traditional way with a dictaphone. In our system, we're hitting 20 work RVUs per hour. In fact, we're even occasionally, when things are going really smoothly and there's absolutely no breaks in your flow, I don't even want to tell you what it is because people won't believe it. It's fast. It's fast, but it's fast and it's high quality. And so, yeah, that's the new company we're working on. We're really excited about it. And yeah, I think it's going to be a benefit to all of radiology.
Awesome. And it seems that you've talked about the number of improvements. So it seems that at the heart of the package, the heart of the application that you're developing is seemingly like a low friction improvement path. I don't know if there's some secret sauce that you want to talk about there.
Absolutely. When I talk to other radiologists, the things that they're frustrated with is I see what I need to get my work done. And when I give that suggestion to the PACS company or to whomever, you might hear back from it. So, okay, that's going to be in the next release that's going to come out in 3 months. And it may or may not be there. But that's terrible. That's not the way radiologists need to work. We're so far behind right now that we need really rapid continuous improvement. So within our app that we developed, there's a little feedback button. You click it, it knows who you are, It knows which template you're in. All you do is you type in your idea, and right then, as soon as you hit save, it hits cell phones on two of our improvement engineers. And if it's something simple, they'll just fix it right there. If it's something that's a little more complicated, it goes into our system where it'll be fixed in a day or two. And if it's a really cool but heavy lift suggestion, it goes into the development pipeline. But yeah, 1,400 strong after a year of continuous improvement. So this thing is just humming along, and there's still a lot more that we want to do and are going to do, but it's super fast right now. It's fun. Continuous improvement is just fun. It's fun to make something better and then use it and go, yes, that's awesome.
It amuses me that you're so ingrained in the continuous improvement that even the way you speak about handling the queuing of improvements, you handle as two separate queues that can be done very quickly, the short queue, and then there's the long queue. Again, another classic process improvement technique to help speed come along.
Yes, and when you give somebody a quick win too, you motivate them. So all of our radiologists are motivated. They know they get this email, feedback implemented with an exclamation point. Thank you. Little thank you email. Thank you for this. You're going to find, here's a new button for you. Click this button. It's going to do exactly what you said. So part of the power of our new company, TurboRad, is the more we grow, the more radiologists are going to be contributing to that system. And as one of my favorite professors told me a long time ago, he said, hey, Steve, nobody is as smart as all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things that's very attractive about what you're doing, the amount of intellectual property that's just getting captured on a daily basis in your application.
So thank you. Yeah, it's exciting.
At the tail end of every podcast, I have a rapid fire section. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So what's the biggest misconception about lean radiology?
I think when people hear the word lean, they think of skinny. And they think skinny, all that means is skeletonizing your staff. So when I first brought lean to my company, they're like, oh, we're already lean. We have the least amount of people we can have. And that's not lean at all. What lean actually is applying the scientific method to running your business. And most people just shoot from the hip. They avoid the data. But sometimes, in order to go fast, you have to go slow. And this is the core of lean.
Brilliant. You talked about the X-ray example and the technologist waiting. What's one process every practice should fix first?
Every process should first commit to continuous daily improvement. It's really powerful. And the first step that I would recommend is just walk in the patient's shoes. Start with who's the first person that they contact in your organization. Pick up the phone and call that number. Actually, call it yourself. See how many times the phone rings. See who the person is that picks up on the other end. Don't tell them who you are. Just, okay, I need to schedule a scan. And then go through every little step in the process and write it down. Write down the little steps and then see how easy it is. And then just analyze it. Sometimes just doing the flow charting, an answer jumps off the page. But you have to just walk in the patient's shoes and think about what's important to them. Importance is time and ease and getting the right answer to their problems. That's what they want. It's as simple as that.
Excellent. So what do you look at first when you walk into a new practice? I don't know how often you get a chance to do that, but
with TurboRad, we're starting to engage with multiple practices now. And the first thing that we actually do, we go in there and just look at flow. Lean is also all about flow. And it's not Colorado Rapids flow. It's like you got to think of a nice, slow-moving river like the Connecticut River that used to run past Dartmouth. It's just continuously moving. And there's no interruptions to it. It's just flow. It's all about a nice, relaxed flow. So the first thing that I do, but I've been trained in lean, is I go to look for where's the waste, but most importantly, where's the flow? Where are patients stopping and not moving forward in the process? Where is that report not being generated? Where is it getting stopped? What's the backlog? And what can we do to help with just flow?
Awesome. So many of us hear feedback from fellow physicians about not having time for process change. So what's the hardest part of getting physician buy-in for process change?
That's exactly right. It's hard to get buy-in initially because everybody in radiology is drowning. So even some of my colleagues, when I have a really good idea, I go to talk to them about it. And sometimes if I catch them at just the wrong time where they feel like they're really busy, it's hard to get their attention. So when we go into a new practice, the real challenge is how can I convince everyone here, hey, you need to just stop and think. That's one of the things that I appreciated about, I love reading biographies of important people. And one of the biographies I read was about Albert Einstein. And one of his best pieces of advice was just give yourself time to think. And it's so important. Right now, radiologists don't have time to think. And so you have to remove them from that busy workflow. We would never do a process improvement in the workspace. We'd always take people out of that space, put them in a classroom, nice and relaxed environment, no pressure, give them time to think. That's what you need. You need to pull somebody out of their busyness, because if they're tied up in there, nothing's going to change. They're just going to go with what they know least. It's the path of least resistance. They're just going to keep going along that path. And so, no, we have to stop and analyze this. Let's collect some data. Let's design an experiment. Let's make this better. And then let's follow it out 30, 60, 90 days to make sure it doesn't revert back the other way.
Awesome. You've talked in a number of examples through the past time about operational excellence. Could you give me maybe a one-sentence definition of operational excellence?
I would say operational excellence is something that you strive for, but never actually achieve, in that you never achieve satisfaction to say you're excellent enough. So operational excellence should basically be your best effort at continuous daily improvement.
Very good. Bonus question. There was a recent publication that described the productivity of the upper quartile of radiologists, the upper quartile being down since the pre-COVID days by double digits. Maybe it was 11, 12%, something like that. I'm wondering if you have some unique insight into that.
I think the reason is burnout. I think burnout is rampant in radiology right now. We used to have one of the lowest burnout rates. When you look at all the specialties that would rank burnout rates, we were always at the bottom. We're down there with dermatology. It was like such a lifestyle-oriented profession a long time ago. In fact, I remember when I was in training, they used to call it Radi Holiday because it was so easy compared to everything else. It's not that way now. Radiology can be very stressful. There's just been this explosion of number of studies and the need for radiology reports to be generated. And there's not enough of us to do that. So there's a classic psychology curve where you increase pressure on somebody and they increase productivity. You increase pressure a little more, you increase productivity, but then you eventually hit a crest where if you increase pressure even more, you start to decrease productivity. And I think we've crested over that apex and now we're on the downhill slide. So in order to improve productivity, you have to take the pressure off of the radiologist. And too many of these solutions out there don't address that at all. They actually make things more complicated. Why is that? I think it's because they don't have a lean foundation and they weren't involving the people. One of the tenets of lean is to get the stakeholders to the table and let them come up with the solution. But what's happening is everybody's coming down on a solution. The classic one is very well-meaning people for my state, Sacramento, or in Washington, D.C. They see a problem, they come up with a solution, they say, here's your solution. And it just adds to work and it doesn't benefit the patient. And it's just classic waste. We do this over and over again. I'll give you an example. There's a new requirement that we have in California, not new, it's been a few years now, because there was an incident where somebody was harmed by radiation. It was a perfusion study of the brain that was done at one of our prestigious universities, but the person got over-radiated and had an injury from the excessive radiation. So well-meaning people in Sacramento said, we're going to create a way to hope to prevent that. And what we're going to do is we're going to make you dictate every time you go in on a CAT scan how many studies a person has had in the past 12 months. And we believe this is going to decrease the amount of studies that's done and decrease the chances of a radiation injury. And you're going to have to document the exact amount of radiation that each patient receives on each report. I promise you, and I've seen it happen, there are people who get CT scans over and over again that are chronic users of the healthcare system. And just the fact that we put those numbers in has zero impact on driving this down. It's a great example of, okay, you have a problem, sure. You think you have a solution, but you didn't study it. You didn't study the impact.
Yeah.
This absolutely was created work for a lot of radiologists, but had zero positive impact for patient safety. I promise you it hasn't affected them at all. But what it does is every single radiologist, and this is just one example, has to do more and more, but it's not driven from a scientific basis. It's not, okay, we have a theory, we're going to see if this works. You just write it into law, and it becomes a law, and everybody has to follow it. So, yeah, I'm a bit on my soapbox, but I should just end there.
Stephen, for those folks who want to learn more about what you're building or just even connect with you, since there's a lot of good bits that you've had here, where should they go?
We have a wonderful website at www.turborad.com. Very easy to find us. And if you want to reach out to me, just Stephen, it's STEPHEN at turborad.com. Love to talk to anybody who's in this space, who's trying to make things better for our colleagues and for our patients. Love to engage in the conversations, and nobody's as smart as all of us. Maybe we can collaborate on something, but love to work with you and help the House of Radiology.
Excellent. Stephen, this has been great. Exactly the kind of conversation we wanted to have on this show. Real insights from somebody who's been making it happen. So I appreciate you being here. And
thanks for having me.
And for everyone else listening, if you got something out of this conversation, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Andy Milkowski. This is The Operating System. See you next time.